Welcome back to What Matters This Week. I'm Lauren Maloney. Joining me today is Father Joe McLaughlin from St. Michael's College. And I wanted Father Joe here because we want to talk about the history of Founders Hall, because if you have driven by the college in Colchester, you know there's some serious construction work going on and demolition shortly. So Father Joe, thanks for being here.
Oh, very nice to be here. Thank you.
Let's first talk about the history when it comes to the Society of St. Edmund, because that's how St. Michael's College was founded. So fill us in on the history there.
Yeah, we were founded in 1863 in France. And then towards the end of the century, we'd grown in different parts of France. They expanded to, but then the latter part of the 19th century, the real church-state conflict, and we were forced out. We had Mont Saint Michel on the coast. We had all kinds of places we had to evacuate. And they started coming to Vermont in 1892. The first two that came over died. The climate got them. Then some more came over and they made a foundation up in Swanton in the 1896 or so. And then they came down to Winooski in 1902 and acquired the house owned by the Kellys. They were Irish immigrants who had acquired a huge amount of land. Most of the land in Winooski Park they had. And they transferred the house in 18 acres to the society in 1902. And that was used one year as a training center for new members. They call it novices. And in the meantime, they decided, let's go for gold and start another college here. And the bishop was in agreement, and by the end of 1902, the agreement was done. This is what we're going to do. But they finished off the novitiate. Then they had to take the Kelly's house, which was built in the 1860s and 70s during the Civil War, and renovate that place. And you can still see a part of the house is still attached to the building. It's still a part of the building itself. And you can see if you go up and just look at it, there's one side of the wall, it's got a curve on it. That's the house that was built, and part of the remaining of the house that was there. Anyways, they finished up. What you see now is really 4 different buildings that have been brought together in a course of maybe 15 years altogether.
Wow, and it wasn't always brick, correct? That came later?
Yeah, originally it was wooden. The original home was a wooden home, and first part of the building was mostly wood. One of the reasons they have such trouble taking this down is that the wall you see outside is about a foot away from the wall in the inside. There's an airspace there to make accommodations for the different sizes of the house. So it looks like it's one building, but it's actually 4 or 5 buildings that have been added on to or put together to look like now, and try to make it look uniform. They tried to do that, but they had to fudge it. So if you go up there, you'll see often there's that space you're looking. You can see between the wall and the outside, there's holes all over the place now for the construction, deconstruction, and you can see the inside varies where you're looking at, because you're looking at different buildings.
So, Father, in the early 1900s, who initially settled? Who lived there first?
First, in 1902, it was a training center. It's called Novitiate, where young new aspirers spend a year training in the religious life. And that happened that year, to 2 to 3. But in the course of that year, they also decided they wanted to start a college. So then they had to figure how to build something bigger than something that could hold 12 people, something that could hold 100 people or whatever. So then they built half of what now you can see as Founders Hall. And then about 6 years later, they decided to double the size. It has grown so much. And that gave you basically the facade you see now from the road is the combination of those 3 buildings that are built over time within a decade.
A lot of us know it now. The past few years, it was administrative offices. The president's office was in that building. And then there was some dorm living on top, correct?
Yeah. The first floor became sort of office space. I don't know when that was. When I lived there in 1960, No, 1970. I was just ordained a priest, and I lived there in 1970. I was on the second floor, and from the second, third, and fourth, those were all students, except for myself, in the building. All
What
male
are
students.
your memories from living there, Father?
It was wonderful. I'm still in contact with a number of those guys. That was the first year there were women students. There was only about 30 or 25 or 30 of them that year, and they lived in a different building. But I was a little bit older than the guys were, but not that much older. And we just got along wonderfully. I mean, we still in contact with one another. Not all of them, but an awful lot of them. And it was just, I had gone to St. Michael's as a student before, for 2 years. Then I applied for the Edmondites and was accepted, had to go to Connecticut to get trained, then came back and finished off and graduated in 1966, I guess. And then went to Toronto and got my advanced degrees at the University of Toronto, and came back to St. Michael's after in 1970 when I got ordained.
So I heard there may be a prank involving a cow way back when. Fill me in.
Yeah, across the street, there's a huge field across the street. And there's a farmland there, and all the rest. They're doing all kinds of wonderful things down there, environmental stuff. That's another subject. But there's also at that time cows down there. That's where we got the milk on the table came from the cows over across the street. So the kids one day, they decided to pull a trick on somebody, and they got the cow, and they got them all the way up to the stairs, and they attached the cow to the door handle of someone's room. So the kid opens the door, and there's a cow in his face. But the problem was, cows don't go downstairs. They just got, it was a prank. It was just a college prank.
Oh my goodness. Now, there's a lot of other things a lot of other mentions I found in my research. A bowling alley, a wine cellar, a pachinko parlor, any of those true?
I think everything you can say. There was a basketball court in there at some times. That place inside has been reconfigured more times you can speak for all different purposes. So I don't think they had a swimming pool in there, but they had a basketball court. I don't know how they did it, but they did. And they had the kitchens and the sleeping areas. And then they put that in the newer house is attached with that's going to remain, that faces the roadway. It's a wooden house. That was the convent for the sisters who prepared the meals and stuff.
And I know there's been, a lot of talk about, just how sad it's going to be to see some of the facade go. We should mention the importance of the cupola, which really is synonymous with the logo of St. Michael's College. Is it a little bittersweet to not look up and see that so often now?
I think it's going to be a kind of a jolt once you take down the building they want to take down. It's going to put a gap there because the buildings that are behind it are not particularly designed to be looked at. So it's going to be sort of the side of a building are very busy. People travel a lot there. It's nothing to look at. It's going to be, what is this? But the building it has structural problems. I know that. I don't know the details, but you can't repair it. It's not, they looked into that. I know that, but it just couldn't be redone. And that cupola, I don't know what they're going to save that, I understand. But I don't know how it's going to be displayed or where it's going to be kept. I don't know that.
You hope it'll be preserved somewhere so it can still be, I guess, looked at fondly, by people like yourself and possibly visitors.
Yeah, I think they could put it in different places on campus in certain buildings. I don't know the specifics on how they're going to, what they're intending to do. I don't think there's any plans to build a new building there. I haven't heard any plans of that. So, and I know they're saving it. And so I presume there's going to be somewhere displaying it. They put in the gymnasium. I don't know where, someone else will have to decide that.
Well, Father, I appreciate your walk down memory lane today.
Okay.
So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Will be demolished over the next several weeks, several months, but I know it's meant a lot to you, so I appreciate you joining us.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Nice to meet you.